Welcome on board my detour. Please fasten your seatbelts because it's going to be a turbulent ride. A wise mentor once told me, envision your career as a toolbox. When you graduate, you'll be given this toolbox and it's your job to pick up different tools along the way to build your career. So, what's in your toolbox? Whether you pick up a new tool or enhance an existing tool, this toolbox is with you for the entirety of your career. So far, my toolbox has collected a range of skills and knowledge and is fueled by my passion. But how do we know when we have enough tools to be successful? Did you know in 2020, over 30 plus airlines globally went bankrupt due to the impacts of COVID-19? With many aircrafts parked in deserts, we all became separated from family, friends, and colleagues. We all took a detour in 2020. Imagine knowing where your passion lies and have been pursuing this for as long as you can remember. For me, that was aviation, a passion I've had since a kid. But when the pandemic hit home and travel came to a grinding halt, so did my career in aviation. This crippled the aviation industry, but also grounded all of us as we all lost the access to travel. Many of us were bewildered, lost and scared of the uncertainties that are still unfolding today. What if aviation is all I know? What if all that time that I'd invested in pursuing this passion was now wasted? These were all the endless unanswered questions running through my head as I kept on spiraling. The world felt so small before, with airlines connecting and forming a network and passage for all of us. Whether you're pursuing that dream job, a long-awaited vacation, following love, or just a spontaneous trip, we all had our reasons to travel and to grow from these experiences. Aviation was the fundamental link, bridging us all together, taking us to the corners of the world safely and efficiently. But when 2020 hit, the world wasn't so small anymore. COVID cut us off and made the world feel large and isolated. We all felt so small and confined to our houses in a world dominated by lockdowns, border closures, and fear. Didn't matter if you're a student, fortunate to keep your job, unfortunately let go, or just navigating through your own life challenges. COVID is still affecting us in some way, shape, or form. Many of us in 2020 lost our way and may still be feeling like this. Our vision had become clouded, and it has been hard to see where our passions lay anymore amid an ongoing pandemic. This was true for myself as the airline I work for collapsed literally overnight due to the impacts of COVID-19. And thus, I was made redundant. I still remember my last day at work, seeing all the planes parked at Melbourne Airport, with the engines covered, windows sealed, and doors locked tight. And I packed my belongings and left the office that would have been the final time. Overnight, this world collapsed. I was torn away from a workplace I was so comfortable and happy and surrounded by like-minded and passionate individuals. Many of us felt so insecure and uncertain about our futures. In fact, I'm sure most of you felt at least like this once in 2020. When Melbourne's first down started, reality hit us hard, and we suddenly had so much time to think about where we're heading next. With the industry I worked for my entire career collapsing around us, I didn't even know where to turn anymore. There were no other airlines to apply for, no jobs in my field, nor were there any other jobs in the market. I even advertised for volunteer data services on Gumtree and even odd jobs on Airtasker. Even so, I started to hunt for a new role. I actually forgot about my toolbox when I was made redundant in March 2020. I was extremely happy, passionate, and proud of my role in an airline where I once worked. But losing this role made me lose sight of my own toolbox. I first found a role at a call center. This role was extremely challenging and frustrating, but it was the first step in realizing that I had the tools in my toolbox that I could use. Tools are not used since early in my career whilst working in airport services, but I had to reach for this tool and use it to perform this role. It was a role that tested my patience and the limitations of my customer service skills. The call center job aligned my reality further, and since I did not receive any JobKeeper payments, I knew I had to earn every single dollar to survive. And I had to use every tool at my best to achieve this. It showed me I had resilience in the face of a detour I hadn't expected. Everyone was chasing employment at this time, and even I applied for a magnitude of jobs. But eventually, after endless dead ends and hundreds of job applications, a new opportunity arose for me, and it was one I didn't expect. I would never have thought, from working around the world, from big airlines to low-cost carriers, that I would end up in 2020 driving an iconic Melbourne tram. I also didn't expect to learn how to drive a tram during a pandemic, which would allow me to witness Melbourne from an eerie lockdown perspective. There were even times where there were more trams than people out. Can you remember the last time you saw Melbourne from a plane window? Whether it was from the sky or from the tracks, perspectives were changing around us, but that perspective was truly beautiful and weirdly going back on track. It also allowed me to apply my transferable tools from the airways to the tramways and help me recover my sense of belonging and purpose, which I had lost. I was motivated to apply this job to trams as I've always been fascinated by them since a young kid, not just aeroplanes. I was born and raised in Hobart, and there are no passenger rail services there. So whenever I got the opportunity to come to Melbourne as a kid, I took the tram everywhere. This job resonated that inner child who was excited to ride on board Melbourne's famous tram. Ding ding. But when I got the job, it was the first time in the tough 2020 that I felt the accomplishment and pride in the tools I collected. I was so grateful to be employed in an industry as I was actually excited about. And that excitement gave me hope and allowed me to take control to steer my detour. There are so many similarities between aeroplanes and trams. Did you know Melbourne's longest E-Class tram is almost as long as a Boeing 737 aircraft? They both transport people, focus heavily on safety, along with punctuality and customer service. These were the key things I showcased during my interview with trams and demonstrated this through the process. I was so proud to be an essential worker, transporting other essential workers to keep Melbourne running during the toughest of times. Being on your own as a tram driver, and while solving passenger issues and tram faults, were very challenging at times, but the freedom and accountability that came with it was rewarding. And it was the first time I felt like I was my own boss. But whilst tram driving, this regained my confidence in my skills and knowledge, and even built on skills I forgot I had. The more I persevered to perfect my tool or tram driving, it was clearer on how important my toolbox was. This proved that my existing tools that I had acquired from a different industry were resilient and adaptable. And by recognizing this, I was able to find my optimism once again and harness this as momentum. However, I never lost sight of my passion. I even pursued roles internally within the tram business, hoping the tools I'd collected can be used to make a difference. But I was unsuccessful in the end. But knowing which tools I need to improve were equally as important. I learned from these setbacks and have been grateful for them in the long run. This year, 2021, a year we hope to be better than last, I was lucky enough to join an airline. I would never have thought I would return so soon amid an ongoing pandemic, but so grateful for this opportunity and excited to tackle its own challenges. During this airline interview, I knew immediately which tools to showcase from my toolbox. When I think about my detour, I constantly remind myself what the power of passion and positivity, along with the toolbox, can achieve. It has always been the traditional process to get a degree, work as a grad, and follow that career progression to climb that ladder to success. COVID-19 has challenged these processes and has learned to adapt around the changing landscapes. For the employers of the future out there, they want to hear how you navigated and tackled your challenges along with your tools and how your toolbox has grown. Having a detour in your career should not be perceived negatively in the eyes of an employer. In fact, it's actually an advantage and not a setback. Flexible working arrangements, remote learning, and work-life balance are just emerging examples of non-traditional systems that have been normalized due to COVID-19. So why see your detour as a setback? What 2020 taught me was resilience, identifying your strengths, developing your weaknesses, and also doing your best not to lose sight of your toolbox. Doing this allowed me to get back on track. But hey, remember, it's also okay to feel lost, scared, and lose your sense of belonging. Once you truly feel these emotions, you'll be able to align your mindset straight and to move forward. So what sort of person do you want to be during your detour? Someone who reflects and becomes fixated on what has happened or what could have happened? Or are you someone who's going to take control, expand, and grow your toolbox? When I think about my detour, I realize what an emotional rollercoaster ride it's been for all of us. The last 18 months has been a blur, and there are tough moments we all forget about. But this opportunity today to deliver my journey to all of you is very rewarding. It is moments like these that I can confidently tell you that your toolbox is ready to go. So, let's open your toolbox and see what's inside, and let's get to work. What tools can you sharpen? What tools are you missing? What tools can you draw from your current role? Make a list of them. By doing this, you'll be able to work out what you need to focus on to achieve, and this will drive you into the right direction. I believe COVID has not just taught us there is no correct path to take, but only the detours you decide to take. And that is a true path to success. Today, my toolbox is loaded with a variety of tools that has followed me on my detour and for many detours to come. Like many people, I took up a hobby whilst navigating through lockdown. Some took up knitting, but I took up cooking again, which was a tool I forgot I had. So in the inspiration of all of this, I want to borrow a phrase from my favorite chef of all time, the late Anthony Bourdain. Your body is not a temple, it's an amusement park. Enjoy the ride. Thank you and enjoy your ride.